Shoulder tips and cues coming right up. Alright, so I thought I would do a voiceover series to give you guys a good look of how I train and what my approach is. So here training with Carolyn, I train every morning, Monday to Saturday, and she's a competitor. She's 50 years old. We've competed in the last 3 years, and she's been a top level national competitor. So let's just jump right into it. Today's our priority push day, so we're doing shoulders today. Right away, guys, you can see what I mean by stacking the joints. This machine, the Smith machine, is lined up so it is like grazing my chin, right? You have to do these things to be that precise so you can get yourself in a position to have that good stacking of the joints, basically. And you can see where the weight is coming down is directly on the same place at the same time every time. So my goal with Carolyn is to basically do the same thing, right? Now she can definitely come a little closer, but again, we're warming up and our goal is to just go through the range of motion, the tempo, and you'll see as we increase the weight that our technique, our tempo will not change. Now you'll see, same with Carolyn, I'm trying to get her to do the same thing. Now there's habits that she needs to, come out of, and she's doing extremely well. We can be a little more stacked to the joints here for sure. You can see she come slightly externally rotated a bit. It's basically saying moving your elbows a little closer to the mirror. That helps. But you can see how she's greeting the bar, her chest to the bar on the way down. Right? And touching the same place every single time, the same speed.
Good, good.
Right?
Good. Come on.
So what I like to do is like trying to keep her chest up, but I like how she's still able to raise her chest up on the way down. But you want to do your best to keep your chest up this entire time. Now, Carolyn's not a beginner, so you can only imagine these are things you need to learn how to do on a week-to-week basis. Prioritize getting your body in the proper positioning to be able to get the most you can out of your lift.
Like if I sit this like this and I just sit like this and I lift the foot up, I see my body tilts
it's so
one
true.
way, right? So if I'm doing this while I have weight pushing me down, you're losing your biggest leverage, which is right from here.
Yes.
Right?
So much. Well, it's almost the same as if you did that in a squat. You
fall over.
You fall over.
Right.
Like
So, and that's why you want to keep your feet, driven out or like just at least aligned with your toes.
Yeah.
So you're always doing this, and the same thing here. You're always kind of doing in some kind of a concentric of a squat.
Right.
So again, how I've set this thing up, right? Again, pushing from the ground floor to core. I'm feeling my quads on, right? My butt pushing the back of the bench. This bar is literally grazing my chin, my head's back, and there's a little bit of an incline on the seat. It's not 90 degrees. It's like a notch. I would say it's like 85 degrees, whatever. But you can see, again, I have my hands spaced out in a way that at the bottom of this lift, my elbows, my fists, wrists, and elbows are still stacked. That allows me to get the most range of motion all the way up, then all the way down. If you look at it, in my head, when I'm doing this, I'm thinking about doing a press and a pull-up. You'll see on the way down, I'll raise my chest over, just like I'm trying to greet my chest to the bar. I'm taking that same approach when it comes to pressing, especially barbell pressing. Any type of pressing is exactly what I'm trying to do. So basically what I was explaining was like, because she gets, at the end of her sets, she starts to get a little bit of the happy feet. So I'm just emphasizing to her how much it's important that we keep our feet driven in the ground, because that's going to give us our biggest amount of leverage, right? Pushing from the ground, putting our butt in the back of the seat will give us the ability to be able to control that weight and to keep that line force consistent. Even though we're in a Smith machine, we can ruin that line of force by just taking our feet off the ground because we're losing stability. So keep your feet driven in the ground, keep your chest high the entire time, and just stay consistent as you can. Hey guys, before we continue with this video, I gotta make sure you guys are hydrated. You hydrated yet? Probably not. Check it out, I got answers for you. Guys, use my code Johnny10 for 10% off amino fast. Like what's amino fast? Guys, amino fast is gonna increase your overall performance, reduce muscle soreness, improve your hydration, and it's gonna prevent muscle cramps. And guess what? All our flavors taste amazing. So guys, again, use my code Johnny10 for 10% off your next order of amino fast right now. Okay, back to the show.
Yeah. And you can even pull, think about pulling still kind of to the front. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So we're gonna work from the rear delt still and pulling from here to still come right out. Yeah, exactly. And you go a little bit higher than shoulder. Good.
So this is one of my favorite ways to do lateral raises from the cables. We get a lot of, stretch, a little bit of a lean angle to force that lengthened load at the bottom. And like you see, Carol, I'm trying to get her to, she's getting out of some, regular habits like everybody else. And you could see her knuckles are kind of facing the ceiling. And we don't want that. We want our knuckles to be just basically straight. You'll see how I do it.
And I'm still trying to pull to the front.
Right. Yeah.
You see, like my front delt isn't nearly doing as much as my side and my lateral.
That's right. That's it, exactly.
So you can see literally the muscle that's being used right now in this entire exercise. I'm thinking when I'm pulling with this, I'm thinking the pull is originating from my shoulder and pulling my arm up from my elbow. And then my hand is just there to hold the accessory. So don't put too much emphasis trying to think about pulling from the accessory handle. We're pulling from the shoulder and we're pulling from the elbow, right? Shoulder originates from the shoulder and then it's pulling from the elbow. And then you can see every time I do a rep, my entire arm is in unison. It's as one. There's my forearm and my humerus, whatever, but you can see from my fist, wrist, and elbow, it's staying consistent. That keeps a load on my delt the entire time. You can see every rep that I do, you can see exactly what muscles are being used and what aren't being used, right? You can see my traps aren't struggling as much. They're going to work that first.
Just get a good stretch at the bottom. As soon as you start, you're already in a stretch position. Holy jeez.
Your traps are going to work. They're going to take about 20 degrees of this first part of this lift. That's when it ends. You don't want it to continue all the way up. You want to make sure you're trying to push your shoulder away from you. You're trying to push your shoulder and your elbow away from you in a big arch. And that's going to put a lot of that stress on the delts. And you could do this with dumbbells, cables, even the Lannis machine. You could take this. Another way you could do this too is like when you put this to your legs. So I would step my my back foot, the front closest to us. I would step that back or over the cable, and you could do it like that as well. That's another good way of doing this. But again, like you can see the load I'm using. I'm using about like 30 pounds. It's not necessary to load the shoulders. You want to use a weight that's going to fatigue the muscle as much because your shoulder's going to get worked with every other muscle group you work. Literally, it's working all week. So there's that fine line of just a good load that's going to force exhaustion just to the head of the delts and away from causing trauma to the joint.
Exactly.
And then hands at chest height.
Yep.
It's like here.
Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna feel a lot more. Yeah, it's gonna be, mid trap and rear delt. That's it. 3, 2, 1. Good.
So we got a good set here. Karen is on one of the other clips. She's actually pulling this a little closer to her ears where you want it. So she does get corrected. My bad for not having that in this video. But again, regardless, we're getting a really good amount of protraction, retraction. You'll see exactly what I want to achieve, what I want her to achieve when I do it. So you can see my scaps opened and closed, right? So we have protraction, retraction. My elbows or my humerus, my arm bone is on the same plane or the same height as my chest. My elbows aren't lower than my shoulders, right? Understand, like, people don't really think that, yes, your shoulder is working, but your shoulder, muscles are what's pulling that bone, that humerus bone. So keeping your elbows at that height is going to make your rear delts work more isolated when you're doing this. So again, a couple things you want to do when we're doing face pulls. If we want to really work the traps, rhomboids. We want to get the scaps to protract and then retract. When they protract, they're completely getting stretched. So the traps are in that lengthened part of the lift. The rear delts in the lengthened part of the lift. The rhomboids, all things in that lengthened part. And then we're pulling it back and shortening it. So we're lengthened and then we're shortened. We're stretching, shortening, right? Big stretch and short. Now, again, I'm also keeping my shoulders down. My traps aren't lifting up. You can see they're going back. My traps aren't elevating. My shoulders are not being elevated at all. So this is directly hitting my rear delts and my traps. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do with this. Now you can see from the side, even more here, this is the line we want. You can see her rear delts firing off and pulling. Firing and pulling, right? Now, you probably ask, why are we doing this leaned on a inclined bench, a high incline? Well, it's going to take away the momentum. You can't use your hips. You can't have a foot back and try to create leverage from the ground. We're making this entire exercise hit exactly where we want, which is the rear delts, the traps, right? Now you can see from here, fully protracting, pushing away, and then pulling back. And then having my arms or my fist close to my ears, almost like doing a back double bicep. I'm literally getting the exact same type of feel to do a back double bicep. I'm almost trying to achieve that. So if you guys have done a back double bicep, it requires that this part here, when I pull here, that's when we want to externally rotate and have our elbows almost, or our fists almost the same angle as our elbows, pointing straight up and down from the ground. Now, again, you can see full protraction, full retraction. And every set we've been doing so far has been like a 2 RIR. So none of this is we're not going to failure. We're getting to a place where we're getting to complete exhaustion. About 2 reps of failure. Now with this too, like this is something I do with triceps. My elbow goes up a bit, but it's going forward like an arc. My traps aren't engaging. I'm just getting to a place where I'm stretching my triceps by doing that little bit of a gesture. My elbows are still being forced to the ground. They're just being pushed out a bit so I can stretch my triceps at the top of this lift. Right? You can see that I'm stretching it and pushing it down. My traps aren't raising up. I'm just stretching from the tricep. So again, when we're doing this, use any bar you want, right? Use a bar that feels comfortable for you. You're going to work the triceps the same, right? Use rope, straight bar, easy bar. I like the easy bar. I like the V bar when I do this. So any is going to work for you, and just whatever makes you comfortable, whatever you can feel the most, that's all you have to worry about.
You got all the way up. 1, 2. Good. One more. Good. Good.
Hope you enjoyed that video. For more videos like this, let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.